Hey guys, how you doing? We're going to show you a quick video on how to solve functions by graphing, and we're going to use this quadratic here. One of the things that you have to do is create a table of values, and we're going to create a table of values by creating a t here, putting my x values here. Now remember, this thing is really equal to f of x, which is the same thing as y, so I'm going to get in the habit of putting f of x on this side, even though it's technically y. Typically, the first thing you'll do when you're trying to solve by graphing is you'll start with a value of 0. So we're going to pick a value of 0 for x. And what we're going to do is take this x and substitute it in for, we're going to take this 0 and we're going to substitute in for x up here and here, and it will tell us what the value of the function at 0 is. So we can go down to the bottom here and say that f of 0 is going to equal 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 3. You can see this first part is going to give us 0 minus 0 minus 3. So our whole f of 0 ends up equaling negative 3. So x is 0, f of x is negative 3. And that's actually a point on the graph. So we go find that 0 and negative 3, which is actually right here. That's actually the y-intercept. Now remember, the solution by graphing is where it crosses the x-axis. So all I got to do is find points that cross the x-axis and I should be done. And keep in mind that this square means this is a nonlinear function, so this is some sort of curve, so it could cross twice. I'm going to go ahead and pick a 1 next, so put a 1 in for x, so now I'm going to do f of 1 equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. 1 squared is 1, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, bring down the minus 3. And now we have f of 1. Now remember, we're going to do 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, and negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So when I input a 1, my output is negative 4. So 1 negative 4 actually brings me down here. You'll notice I'm actually going away from the axis, so actually I should try to choose a point on this side over here, an x value over here, because I want to go towards the axis. So I'm going to choose negative 1 next, so negative 1. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did down here, so f of negative 1 is going to equal negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 minus 3. So negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is going to give me a positive 2, and then minus 3. And if I bring down my negative 1 here, we can see that f of negative 1 is going to equal 1 plus 2, which is 3, minus 3, which is 0. And if we're looking at a table, we'll notice that this right here is actually an x-intercept because the y value is 0. So this means that's actually one of my solutions. So if I go and draw that on the graph over here, you can see my graph is actually coming up like this. So I'm going to have that U-shaped curve, and there's one of my solutions right there. So the x-intercept, also called the root or the 0 of the function, those all are different ways of saying solution. So there's one of my solutions, but remember, this is a curved graph. And this could make a U-shape, so it's possible I could make this graph come back up over here. So I'm going to pick a couple more points. My next one would be a 2. Or you might notice some symmetry. It looks like this is reaching a low part, and you'll see that 1 and negative 1 are actually 2 numbers apart. So a little hint here might be to go 2 numbers past that and try a 3 next instead. So I'm going to input a 3 here. So remember, doing the function at 3, so f of 3 is going to equal 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 3. Remember, we're using this rule up here for the function. So the first part is 3 squared, which is 9. And negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then minus 3. I think we have a solution here. So 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So I have a 3, 0. And you can see from the table alone, there are my 2 solutions. So 3, 0 is the other solution. So my 2 answers are negative 1 and 3, but if I wanted to actually sketch this graph out a little bit more, remember we have the lines of symmetry, so if this right here is actually my vertex, my other dot on the other side of this line would be right here, and I can actually go and sketch that upwards like this. Okay, so that's how you create a graph, is by picking some points or picking some x values, calculating the y values, which are f of x, and then plotting them on there. And if you're looking for solutions, we're only looking for where it crosses the x-axis. So once you find the points where it crosses the x-axis, you don't have to sketch any more of the graph.